The Hanslope Show Podcast. Your village, your podcast. It's all about Hanslope.
So welcome to the first of the Hanslope Show Podcast. I'm Trev, and I've lived in the village nearly 30 years, although I'm told I'm still not yet a local, which is fair enough. So the main aim of the podcast is to share our story as a village. I'm just here to facilitate that. So what's happening then in our businesses locally? What's happening with our clubs, our organisations, in the pubs as well? Let's find out together how this village ticks and give everyone a platform to share their story. Now, hopefully, as this grows, there'll be ways to get in touch and we'll put those in place. But I wanted to produce this initial pilot podcast just to see how this goes down, and any feedback you got will be gratefully received. Only the good ones, of course. So to start with this pilot episode, thanks ever so much to the three people that helped me do this. First of all, Ben, who runs a local business here in Hanslope, a startup. And I don't really like the fact that we need him, but we do, and I'll explain more about that soon when we have a chat with Ben. Millie, who works at the club, of course. She started a book club recently. We'll hear more about that. Now, I think a massive part of a podcast for the village is to find out, how do we work as a village? And at the heart of that is the Hanslope Parish Council. And so hopefully they'll get more involved over the time of the podcast. And firstly, thanks to Richard, who popped in to have a chat. His remit, as you'll hear, is traffic in the village, which I thought was really important and a great place to start for this initial podcast. And now, when someone comes into the studio, for years in broadcasting, we've always asked, off-air, as it were, what you have for breakfast. It gives you levels in the studio, and you can just get used to working with the microphone. But I thought I'd keep that in because it's quite nice to hear what Richard has for breakfast. He lives in Hanslope. What are Hanslopians having for breakfast? Here's Richard Wallond, who's a volunteer on the Parish Council.
The Hanslope Show Podcast.
For breakfast this morning, do you know what? I was greedy. I had crumpets and cereal. Normally it's one or the other.
I love crumpets.
My wife, she said today, she got up before me, she's going to the museum, she's a volunteer, and she said, I really fancied a crumpet this morning. And she said, I opened the cupboard door, and she said, I couldn't believe it. Because we never have them normally. I randomly bought them yesterday when I was at Tesco. So she was happy with that.
Crumpets last about 5 minutes in my house.
They do, yeah. You're not a Marmite person, are you?
I don't mind a Marmite, I must admit.
It's got to be just butter, isn't it, really? And the other thing is, I have to have mine done really overdone. They have to go in the toaster twice. My wife, she wants toast that's just got a slight brown on it.
Okay, crumpets, here's my thing on crumpets. They shouldn't really be done in the toaster unless you can do just one side, because what they should be done is under the grill. And you can just do the top, and they go a bit crispy. Okay. Whereas the underneath says a bit
do you like
softer.
It a bit softer? I don't know. I like everything burnt. I like my toast cremated as well. But there we are.
Well, this is perfect. This is Crumpet Podcast. Well, let's start by getting your what's your title on the parish council?
So I'm just a parish councillor. I don't have a particular title. So. Yeah, we're all parish councillors. Obviously, we have a chair and a deputy, but then each of us has kind of specialist, I guess, interests and things that we get involved in because we're interested. So I joined the parish council 3 years ago, just little time after I came to the village. I live in Wheatfields, and big fan of the village, and I wanted to try and do something and get involved and meet people, really, because, we were completely new, didn't know anyone, and I quite like the idea of bumping into a few friendly faces as I went around and popped into the club, and it's been great.
So why Hanslope from Milton Keynes?
So kids had grown up, big house. We wanted to downsize, and it was a method to help us retire early as well. Mm-hmm. Both worked in IT, had enough of work really. And why Hanslope? We wanted to move out of MK. There was no reason to be in the middle of MK anymore. And we love MK, big fans, and it was great bringing up a family. I think it's a great family focused place. So we looked around, we looked out sort of south and east and west, and actually, I don't know, I cycle quite a lot historically, and I used to cycle up the northwest part of MK, so I would cycle out through Hanslope and up to Silverstone and around there, and I went through a lot, and I can remember the speed bumps all the time on the bike. And we came back and had a look around and just liked it, and of course there were the new developments going on as well, so yeah, we just decided it looked like a good place to be.
Yeah. And so you've alluded to the fact that you wanted to get more involved in the village because you were new to the village, and so hence I guess the parish council was an obvious route in. But what have you learnt about parish councils? Do you enjoy your time on there, and are you pleased you joined it?
I think I wanted to join, as I say, to meet people, but also just I've done various voluntary things in the past, but I've never been on a parish council. And I mean, you watch The Vicar of Dibley, don't you? So you kind of think it's going to be a bit like that, and it's not really like that, of course. I didn't know anything about parish councils. I went along. They're always looking for people. It's a voluntary role. It does take a little bit of time. We do have a vacancy at the moment, so if anyone is interested, please let us know. Come forward. Yeah, it meets on a monthly basis. We have formal meetings, and then it breaks down into sort of there's different working groups to focus on other activities. So we have a planning working group. So anything planning related to the village goes through the planning group, and they report to the full council meeting. We have an allotment group. Of course, the allotments are doing a fantastic job up there, and they're being well looked after. So there's a group, a working group that look after those, and they report back up. And then also individuals that we have projects that run. And I was interested in a few things, and I put my name forward to do community speed watch, which we did have in the village, I think, some years ago, and I think it fell by the by. So I felt that was something we could maybe pick up again, and we did. We've set that back up again. That's been running a couple of years now.
Let's just talk about what you've looked after quite a bit in your time at the parish council is traffic here in the village, and you've learnt a lot in your short time here. Yeah,
so we set up the Speedwatch group a couple of years ago, so you may have seen us out different parts of the village at different times. We don't go out too often because, again, it's a voluntary role, and so for that we had to speak to Thames Valley Police. It's run by the police, effectively. So we go out and you'll see us out with the radar gun, different parts of the village. And certain parts of the village, they have a problem with speeding. We know that, particularly entering and exiting the village. And Tattle End's got a problem as well. And in fact, Tattle End have set up their own separate group down there. I don't know about you. I know, again, Speedwatch is one of these things, and some people think we're a bunch of old fogies that should know better, and what are we doing? But I think I'm a sensible driver, I say, but sometimes I daydream, and I think we're all guilty of this, particularly when we're on roads that we're familiar with, and it's very easy sometimes to drive from A to B, and then you think, I don't actually remember driving.
Yeah.
And I've caught myself sometimes going too fast in places, and I think us just being out there, some of the signs that are out there, it just reminds us, people that habitually speed, we're not going to do anything about that. It's fine. It's more about an awareness, really. If someone's caught doing 36 miles an hour or more by us, so you've got latitude already. If you're just doing over 30, nothing's going to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, effectively what we do, we record the car details. It gets logged onto Thames Valley Police Speedwatch portal, and people get a letter. There's obviously, we're not police. There's no points on licence. There's no fines. There's nothing like that. It's just, it's an awareness thing.
Yeah, yeah. And in terms of, you mentioned the park traffic, which does get a lot of headlines here in Hanslope. You almost want to take some of those people just to one side, say, look, it's our village. Can you respect it a little bit more? How do we? Do you work with them, or
it's very interesting because we've had those conversations. We've started to have those conversations in the parish council meetings because you need evidence, you need data, and one of the things that villagers have probably been aware of, historically we had one or two, we call them SIDs, speed indication devices, and we had, I think, 3 or 4 posts and 1 or 2 devices. So the devices would move around the village on a sort of monthly basis. Again, we got some money last year, and we installed 2 new permanent devices. So there's one by the pond as you come in from Hanslope Park End, and there's also one at the other end of the village on the Hartwell Road as you come in, and it's pointing towards the village as well. So those are permanent devices, and those are the ones that flash up and tell you if you're doing what the speed is, and thank you. Now those record. They continually record all the cars coming past. They don't record individual cars' registrations. It's purely statistics. We get the data off that, and we've now got quite a bit of data. I've produced some graphs and looked at it, and it is quite interesting. It shows that we have, just one statistic is that down by the pond on an average day, an average week, we have up to 22,000 vehicles passing in either direction. It's quite significant. We've had MK Highways out in the last month. Ali's, our ward councillor, has been great. She's been trying to get them out here to look at the different issues we have with potholes and lorries particularly, and also speeding. And I supplied some of these statistics to her, and she showed the highways guys, and they nearly fell off the seat. They couldn't believe the amount of traffic that we have out here.
Despite the fact that we've been telling them over many years.
Well, we have. I mean, you know, we are a bit of a rat run between MK and Northampton, but of course, Hanslope Park is growing and growing and growing. And I don't know the numbers that work there. I think 2,500 people, someone has said to me. And also on the stats that we've got coming off these devices, we can see and map out the sort of peaks that you get in the morning and the evening. So you get a big peak of rush hour of traffic exiting the village by the pond going to Hanslope Park, and then there's sort of a dip when they're all at work. Yeah. And then, of course, in the afternoon, 4 o'clock, there's a massive peak of traffic coming in as they're all departing. And everyone's probably seen this. But it's good to be able to get the statistics off these devices. And coming back to your question about have we spoke to them? No, we haven't spoken to Hanslope Park yet, but I think what we want to do is to get some of this data and go to them and try and explain to them that, you know, they are just to remind their workers, actually, and maybe they can post something on their internal intranets or something just to remind people that, you know, please respect the speed limits, please drive carefully because there's a lot of traffic.
And that's why the data is so important to collect, because at least then you can go to them
absolutely.
And say, this is what's happened.
And you need data. It's no good saying, we think X or Y. No. You need evidence.
I'm surprised that we've never, as a village, spoken to them, because they are a big part of our community, because they use our village newsagent, they use the pub, the Watts Arms maybe now and again for lunch. And so you would think that we would have that two-way conversation. Again,
I don't know that they have much interaction with us. I don't know that we have. You're right. I don't really understand why they wouldn't be more prominent. I get in Hanslope life. I get the nature of some of their work is a bit secret, but actually we're just talking about integrating up. And you're right. You know, people come to the pub and people use the shops, but they don't seem to add much. I don't know. Maybe they do, but I don't know.
It'd be quite fascinating to see if we can get some sort of working group between us and them to say, no, we're here, you're there, you're right on our doorstep, and you use us to come in and out of the village every day. So let's work together.
I agree.
The Hanslope Show podcast. Your village, your podcast. It's all about Hanslope.
That's Richard Wallond, who's a volunteer on the Hanslope Parish Council. More to come from Richard soon. And, of course, the very controversial subject on the 20 miles per hour limit in the village. More on that to come soon. In the meantime, though, let's now hear from a Hanslope business startup in the last 12 months. This is Ben, and let's find out what Ben does.
Yeah, so I run a local company called Pidge's Poop Scoop, and predominantly what we do is we scoop poop. So we offer a service to those that either don't have the time or could be have a disability, be injured, or potentially old age. We offer a service of going around to the house and picking up their dog poop for them. And what we do for the village, we're actually we live in Hanslope as well. The rec was having problems with, unfortunately, they're having problems with dog owners letting their dogs foul on the green and not picking up after them, which is not nice. And then obviously on the weekends you've got the people playing football, kids running around and stuff like that. So it's not nice them having to deal with it. So the local parish reached out and asked if I could complete a service for them, which we do. We do it at a discounted rate because obviously we like to keep things local. So every Friday evening or Saturday morning, very early before everyone gets there, we go and make sure that all the poop in the area is gone, ready for the weekend.
Right, Ben. Have you got a nose for it? Can you detect from afar what kind of skill do you have, Ben?
I'd say we've got a pretty good eye for it, to be fair. As far as the nose goes, luckily we keep it at arm's length. So we've got the adequate equipment. We've got the right equipment to make the job as easy and efficient for us as possible. Yeah, we don't normally have to smell it too much. Unless it's a really hot day, then it can be quite grim.
And look, ideally, we don't really want you, do we? We don't want your service, but
Absolutely not,
unfortunately,
no.
that's the way of the world, and some people are just irresponsible dog owners and let their dog poop all over the place. But look, has it got better or worse? What's going on, Ben?
No, you're absolutely right there. I mean, there's a need for our service, obviously, within the community for people that I've mentioned. But with regards to the wreck, no, it shouldn't be needed at all. There's a lot of signs there. We're quite lucky to have such a nice green area in the village that's well looked after, well maintained. And don't get me wrong, the majority of the dog owners in the village are very respectful and they do what they need to do. Unfortunately, as you said, there are a couple that maybe don't watch the dog all the time or basically are too-bone idle and don't do it, which is a real shame. It goes in trends. So obviously when the nights were lighter, people were walking the dogs later, and that created a bit of a trend of an increase. But it kind of dips and troughs.
You don't get paid by poop, do you? You don't. I picked up 5 this week. So you
unfortunately not. I'd be a very rich man if I do.
It's a shame, isn't it? But how did you get into this, Ben? How did you stumble into this as a bit of a side hustle for you?
So a little bit about me. I worked in the prison service for 12 years with young offenders. Absolutely loved it. Needed a bit of a career change, something less stressful. So I went completely the other way, and I started working in health and safety, which I still do Monday to Friday. Absolutely love it. Really good industry. I was sat in my study about 3 o'clock in the morning on a Friday, and I sat in my study, and I had my wife's voice ringing in my head, going, "I need to go and poop at the garden." And it's not a nice job to do, and I'd left it for a good few days. I was quite dreading it, and I had a look, and there wasn't anyone that does it. So I started looking into it, and obviously anything to do with the service industry, the USA kind of leads the way. And it's massive in America. It's absolutely massive. And this was November last year, and I spent the next few hours researching it, and then I woke my wife up quite early the next morning going, "Oh, I've got a business idea. I'm going to give this a go." That's generally how it come about. We had quite a bit of interest to begin with like the media. We were actually pictured in the Sun, in the Metro, and a couple of other papers as well, because it's one of those things where you say, "This is what I do." That people go, "You what?"
I mean, are there other companies in the country that do it? I mean, is Hanslope leading the way in terms of picking up dog poop?
There are others. I got reached out by someone who's starting up one in Scotland. This was literally last week. Actually, he reached out to ask me a couple of questions, but there is nothing local. One person started up a couple of months after me, which is near here. Luckily, I've got quite a good relationship with him as well, so there's nothing like a little bit of competition. But because the industry is so unheard of in the UK, it hasn't really got a foothold yet. Convenience is a really big thing, and as I said, sometimes it's not just the convenience side of people being too lazy to pick up the poop. It's dogs are part of the family, and I'm a massive believer of that. It's lovely living in Hanslope with all the dog walkers everywhere. It's great. I mean, we've got 2 ourselves. Our logo is actually designed on one of our dogs, Pidge, who's the rescue. But people need help every now and again, whether it be as an injury, pregnancy, they might have a disability, or they generally struggle due to old age. And it's a service we offer. And one thing I didn't realise when I started doing it is how good the feedback would be, like how good how nice the customers would be, and how appreciative they'd be. It's actually great, to be fair.
Well, there we go. There's money in muck, as you're proving, Ben. And as you alluded to, the name of Pidge's poop is after one of your rescue dogs. We're leading the way. Hanslope does in many, many ways, and that's another example of it. Ben, thanks ever so much for talking to us. If people want to find out more about what you do and where you are, is there a website?
Yes, we've got a website, pidgespoopscoop.co.uk. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and my number's all over there. Anyone that lives in Hanslope, the local villages, let me know that you live there, and we'll give you a better rate. Because obviously we like to keep things local, keep things in the village.
I would shake your hand, Ben, but for obvious reasons. We can't on the phone, but also I'm not sure I would want to, really. But anyway, Ben, Ben, thanks ever so much. It's great what you do. And look, I hope that it grows, not so much on the wreck, but in people's back gardens, like you said, when they can't do it themselves for many, many reasons. And I hope, wish you every success. Thanks ever so much, Ben.
Thanks, Trevor. Nice to speak to you. Speak to you soon.
The Hanslope Show Podcast. Your village, your podcast. It's all about Hanslope.
Fascinating stuff from Ben, who lives here in Hanslope. Now, back to part 2 of our chat with Richard Wallond, the volunteer, of course, from Hanslope Parish Council, and the very controversial subject of the 20 miles per hour zone that's talked about in the club, and the Watts Arms and the Cock, of course, in all our pubs and our clubs. And here's Richard, and of course, with his remit of looking after traffic here in the village, he is best placed to tell us about where the Parish Council stands on the 20 miles per hour zone.
Just over a year ago, obviously Havisham put in their 20 mile an hour speed limit. And interesting, no one in the community had come to the Parish Council and said, we think we should look at establishing one in Hanslope. But I was interested to understand what the villagers thought. So we put out a link through Facebook and the magazine and our website, and a simple survey, a simple online with about 4 or 5 questions along the lines of, do you live in the village? Do you think there should be a 20 mile an hour speed limit? If you do, where do you think it should be? Just on the main road, on the surrounding roads, and further afield? And we let that run for a couple of months, and the results came back, as I kind of suspected. It was very polarised. It was completely split down the middle, almost literally 50-50. On one hand, you've got people that are absolute advocates for a 20 on the basis of, speed kills, and we've got children, we've got pets, and we know, unfortunately, we've had pets that have been hit by cars on the roads in the village. And then, of course, the other end of the spectrum, you've got people that say, actually, it's fine. We've got speed humps in the village. We don't need any more impediments to getting through. And so, it's very difficult to take any action with a result like that, because effectively MK Council have to set these things up, and there's a whole process and a scoring system. And what they're looking for is, what do the locals think? And they need more than 50% of the locals to actually progress. And the other thing, of course, is that they are looking for evidence of accidents and fatalities. And I don't believe we have any significant fatalities. I don't think we have any fatalities in the village, but accidents as well recorded. So it's quite a difficult proposition to take forward, and probably not the right thing to do. But as I say, you talk to any group of people and about the 20 mile speed limit, and it'll be right down the middle divided. There's the absolute wants and the absolute not wants.
Your remit of looking after traffic, or being part of that group, it's probably one of the most divisive issues of living in our village, isn't it?
I'm probably putting sticking my head up on, having this podcast with you is probably not a good idea, but hopefully people realise why we do the speed watch. It's an awareness thing. It's trying to remind people, because we all want to have get through the day and not be hit by a car, don't we?
The Hanslope Show Podcast.
So there you have it. That's Richard on behalf of Hanslope Parish Council and their views on the 20 miles per hour speed limit here in the village. Now, if you run a club here where we live, we'd love to hear from you and, of course, include you in future podcasts. One of those new clubs in the last 12 months is the Book Club at the club on the High Street. And here's how it all began. Here's Millie from the club.
So it started, one of our committee members suggested it. She's part of another book club elsewhere. And she thought it might be something really lovely to offer to our members and for people to take part in.
Tell us, how many members have you got now, and tell us about the atmosphere of the group and what's happening.
Every month we have a meeting, and obviously it depends on people's availability, but anything between sort of 20 to 25 people turn up, and it's a really lovely, warm group. They all share their thoughts. Some like to just sort of sit and listen, whereas others are quite vocal, but they all really love to chat.
There are some big book readers there, but I guess anybody that picks up a book now and again can also come along as well and get inspired by what other people are saying about books themselves.
Absolutely, yeah. It's really lovely, and a lot of people have said, do you know what, I've not had an opportunity to read, or I've just not thought about reading for years. So it's really nice for them to be able to do that, and to do that with friends.
And of course increases their social circle within the village as well.
That's it, of course. So I think a lot of people have met others that they've never met before, made new friends, and they chat outside of the group as well on a WhatsApp group and share thoughts.
And how does a book club work? Does someone bring a book along? Do people read excerpts from books, or tell us the overview of it?
So what happens is over the period of the month, people might see a book, hear about a book, and think, oh, this could be a good suggestion. And they give all their suggestions to me. And then at every meeting, I give them 4 options to choose from with a little bit of a synopsis of each book. They all sort of just have a look at them, discuss which they'd like to go, and then they pick one out of the 4. And then they collectively all go out, get that book, read it over the course of the month, and then come back together 4 weeks later to discuss that book. Obviously,
I guess what it leads on to is books outside of your normal sort of reading circle, as it were, and you'll be tempted by other genres.
That's it. So they've already gone through so many different genres, and because it's such a big group, everyone has different preferences. So depending on who's there at that time, will sort of depict which book they're going to go with. And I think people have read some things that they would never have normally thought to pick up and read. And
is it open just to members of the club, or can people bring guests along?
Members are welcome to bring up to 3 guests along with them. They just need to sign them in.
And to find out when the next club is and when they are on, how do we do that?
So the members get notified via email, but we also put it on our Facebook page as well.
What's your favourite book that you've learnt from the book club? What's your favourite read so far this year?
Well, do you know what? I have never actually finished one yet. I only ever get halfway through them before I get distracted by something else.
But you are busy running the club, though, so that's your excuse.
That's my excuse, and I'm sticking with it.
Yeah. All right, okay. Next time we speak, you must have read a book and tell me about it.
I promise.
The Hanslope Show podcast. Your village, your podcast. It's all about Hanslope.
Thanks to Millie from the club, and good luck with the book club. Now, here's our final part with Richard Wallond, our representative from Hanslope Parish Council this time. Of course, his remit, as we've been hearing about, is traffic in the village. And it wouldn't be a local podcast without asking about, potholes. And I wanted to share this because, of course, if you do see a pothole here in the village, it's really important to tell the council about it. Here's Richard and the dreaded subject of potholes in the village.
It is difficult, and one of the things I've come to realise about being on the parish council is actually what we can and we can't do. And there's a lot of things that I think people in the village think are within the remit of the parish council, but a lot of these things are not. So one of them is potholes. So highways, anything kind of roads and pavements, etc., that's run by Milton Keynes Council Highways Department. So what we always say, and you'll see this, Ali will tell you this on the socials, as will the clerk, is that if anyone has a pothole, they see a pothole, report it to MK Council. You can Google that, and it's just an online form where you take a photo, you spot the location. The more people that do this for a single pothole is the greater chance of having it fixed. So if lots of people moan about one pothole, there's a higher chance it will kind of bubble up to the top of the list at the council and it will get done.
Thanks to Richard Wallond from the Hanslope Parish Council and his thoughts on, of course, potholes, the 20 miles per hour speed limit, and what he looks after here in the village under his remit of traffic. And thanks to Millie from the club and the book club, of course, and Ben from Pidge's Poop Scoop, who you can see on the wreck picking up the poop before the kids play football. And now it's over to you. What did you think of the Hanslope Show podcast? Do you think it's got legs? Would you like to hear more from our clubs and our pubs and our churches and our Hanslope Parish Council? Thanks for your ears, and hopefully speak to you again soon. And we'll let you know, of course, if there's a part 2 and more to come from the Hanslope Show podcast.
The Hanslope Show podcast. Your village, your podcast. It's all about Hanslope.